What does this hat and that TV screen have in common? Well, all of Australia loves it when the F1 racing comes to town because, well, up until now, those F1 cars were the fastest thing in Australia. Well, move over F1, because not anymore. Cosmo's in town. But when in Rome, on our way home from the airport, we couldn't resist but to take a lap on the F1 track. I gotta admit, it's pretty cool. A 5-hour drive and we're in Wagga Wagga. Here we are, the Australian innovator, the first one to get Cosmo the sanding robot. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh my God.
There she is. These poor guys are all getting retired. The ceremonial.
Not with 3 phase.
No smoke?
No, not yet, but we could. Do we have to turn it on for the meter box hockey?
Well, here we are at 7 o'clock and we're ready to fire up Cosmo for the first time. And it's alive. We just asked Cosmo, you ready to start sanding? Yep, I am.
I'm taking this to my young fella. He's going to be beside himself. No pressure at all.
There's a pretty excited guy right there.
Now I know.
First day, what time did we get here?
4:30. 4:30.
4:30? What time is it now?
8. 6 past 8.
So if we're pretty much done the setup now, we're ready to start sanding. 4 hours, not bad.
Pretty good.
What do you think so far?
Yeah, as I said, you said I'm pretty amazed. Yeah. Shit, if I can do this, anyone can.
Day 2, I got the easy job. I sit here and he does the work. Cosmo's already the talk of the town. We got some customers stopping in to check it out. We can sand shaker doors. There goes another rack, sand slab doors. And then here's my favorite view. We got the robot sanding in the background and the operator sanding in the foreground. So because we've got a little extra time, they're doing so good with the robot, we decided to start working on flow throughout the rest of the factory. I guess I just can't help myself. So the first thing is we're answering the what's next question for the robot operator. Before, maybe you saw in the background of the video, things were kind of just everywhere. And now we're establishing lines on the floor with a buffer. And then this square is the panic zone. When this square becomes empty, someone else is gonna start freaking out. And now we've got Chris, he's our rock and roll owner right here. He's got the tape out and he's gonna start marking the floor out here for what's next for these benches. It's coming together. So now we're really gonna get into it. We got stations that are doing jobs that we're going to connect processes. I just want to get a layout view so we can show you what we do by the end of today. This is so critical. This part is something that we try and explain to all of our clients, is that if you get a new machine or some automation or anything, doesn't matter, I'm not talking about just our robots, just in general, if you change a piece of equipment and you don't change the process or you don't change the rules that you're operating with, the benefit you will not get. You will just have one station going faster than it did yesterday, which may or may not impact the entire system. So it's so critical that when you implement something new, you also revamp the system. You change all of the rules that you are operating on, and that's when you're gonna see the benefit. If you get something going much faster and you don't subordinate all the rest of the activity in your factory to the bottleneck, you're not going to notice anything happening except for a big lease payment. So as we dive into connecting processes, the team immediately realizes some things are just in the wrong place. Chris was kind enough to open his doors to all the other finishing shops in town to come and have a look at Cosmo. I think it's safe to say that everyone was pretty amazed at what could happen when you automate the sanding process. Now, one question we always get is, can you do small parts? Can you do drawer fronts? Well, it looks like we sure can. Cosmo had no problem sanding up this drawer front. And I think we're gonna show off and even sand the edges of this part. So once it's done with the panel, we're doing our sanding sequence on the panel, and Cosmo's gonna move over, and yes indeed, we're gonna knock out the edges. Now just in case that wasn't enough, we're also gonna break the corners with the corner breaking sander on the end of Cosmo. There's no doubt some families tonight are going to be watching videos of Cosmo. And Cosmo made some pretty light work of this really tough polyester. By dividing up the work between Cosmo and the operator, we'll be able to cut the processing time by 60%. We get to hang out with the best people. Look at, we're in the land down under, and these are all guys that are coming to look at the robot or came to look at the robot or whatever.
We're silly enough to buy the robot.
This one, sight unseen. He's the Australian innovator right there. He just said, give me one. Why did you pick Stolbeck?
Because you do what we do. It's so simple as that. You're not just a manufacturer trying to flog machines. No, my theory behind buying the robot was, even if it did 60% of what it said it did, I could still make that work. It wasn't going to ruin me.
And what percentage does it do?
Geez, I wouldn't go. It does more than I thought it did. It did goes better. It'd be 105%.
And here's me and Chris putting our heads together on some flow stuff for tomorrow.
So yeah, just finished a week of interviews, and surprise, surprise, Cosmo got the job. Literally having a rough time with staff, a few beers around a fire bucket in winter 2023. Thought, got to be an easy way. Just literally Googled robot sanders, and Cosmo was the main one that sort of came up. Loved what it looked like, had a look around at other ones, but the selling point for me was Brad. It was literally because he did what we did. And everyone that I tell, oh, where'd you get it from? I'm like, from this guy, because he does what we do. And that's pretty much how that came about. Emailed Brad, they do come to Australia, signed up, paid, and Cosmo was getting made.
So how did you make that crazy decision to sight unseen? You didn't even come look at it, you just bought it.
Oh, I could see the benefit in it just by watching it. I was like, even if this thing does 60% of what it does, I can fit this into my shed anyway, into the way we do stuff. So for the fact that it turned up and does 105%, even better. It was really good, a little bit surreal. Sitting there watching Brad on every clip I could stalk him on. I felt like a celebrity had just walked into my shop. And so I did. I felt a little bit out of place, but it was great. Really good to deal with, because like I said, the reason I sort of went with Cosmo is because he's one of us. He's a guy that does what we do. Literally, when you showed up, because we come off the truck at say 3:30 Monday afternoon, and by 8 o'clock we had the power on. It was going, and then it was probably only half a day the next day starting to program. A little bit more excitement back into the workplace. Guys that have trained it so far have picked it up really well, and all within a day, maybe each of even having a go at it.
Right.
I barely know what a PC stands for. I can barely send an email, and literally I had this sorted in a couple of hours. Spot on, and they were some of the things in your head. You're just like, oh, square sander, is it going to leave lines? But we've sorted all that out, and no, it doesn't. Probably like most people find in Australia with staff and yourselves, a shaker door, average size, 8 to 10 minutes. A person now with Cosmo, 4-minute doors. Working towards sub 3-minute doors. I didn't really look at the initial cost. I just went to the bank, and once I found out what the weekly cost was, I'm like, that's a wage. That's less than a wage, because I don't have to pay super, sick leave, any of the extras. So that was the no-brainer. I think people have got to realise that automation is the way of the future. Like, it just is, whether you like it or not. It's happening. It's coming. It's here. The bonus of Cosmo is I thought I was buying a machine, which I did. Turned up. The week training and Brad helping me go through and set up my shop in a process that's going to help us to know it to all ends. That was the bonus. Yeah. People just need to get it out of their heads that they're spending a couple of $100,000. It is a wage. And in 5 years' time, if they don't get it, they're still going to be looking for staff at the same money. So why not get it now?